So let me ask you this then. When you look at like a process, like what things should we be looking at in that process? 'Cause I think that for a lot of businesses, that's the major thing that messes them up is they're like, all right, we're going to sell something. They don't know what that process is to actually get somebody from coming in your organization to actually, working with you as a client. I guess for you guys, what does building a process that you can measure and control look like?
Yeah, Jeremy, I think it's such a great question, but I'm going to have to take a step back because
Yeah,
the
let's do it.
challenge many of the times is we build the process without defining the meaning. And I'll give you an example of frustration. I'm hearing this thing being bantered around nowadays in our space called human to human selling. I'm like, has everyone been asleep at the wheel? I mean, isn't that what selling
We've been doing that
is?
for thousands of years.
Exactly. And when you start with a noble purpose, when you start with selling won't help, but helping will sell, when that's your design point as an organization driving sales and saying it would be negligent for us to deny the world the value of Command Your Brand. So when I'm selling, I'm operating from a higher purpose. I'm going, Alan, if you want to get your voice out into the market, if you really want to present yourself as an expert in your field, you got to partner with Command Your Brand because you don't know what you don't know, Al. Now, you don't say it to me like that. Your team doesn't say it to me like that. But effectively, they start with that noble purpose. Once that's in place, you have the desire to be the chef. Now you need good ingredients and you need a robust recipe. So now you want to talk about, the key parts, the substance of your messaging. You want to speak about how you deliver that process. But Jeremy, ask yourself, why do entrepreneurs succeed at selling without training? It's because it's before that. They have a purpose. They have a higher meaning. They have a value proposition they take into the market that they stumble through the ingredients and the recipe for a while and eventually get better at it. So I think the key thing where organizations get stuck is they treat this like a rogue production line when there is nothing more human than selling. Dan Pink's book, To Sell is Human. There's nothing more human than selling. And what we've tried to do is make it a production line. And we've removed the human being from the human doing. So I would start with this. It's got to be human-centered. It's got to be based on noble purpose. And then the rest of it is a bit more malleable to the market. Because, people say selling isn't rocket science. I'm saying you're damn right. They can land something millions and millions of light years away, 0.004 seconds late. That's predictable. Selling is not predictable. Yeah. You're dealing with humans. You're dealing with them on different days. You're dealing with prejudices. You're dealing with a lot of stuff. It's not predictable. So you have to be able to be true to something bigger than the process, which is the meaning. And I use the term all the time. It is borderline negligent for me to deny the world the value my company brings. And when we operate from that, everything else just becomes mechanics of mastery. But if you don't have that, then they become hindrances to how do we do this like a production line, as opposed to how do we establish connections with the people we serve.
I want to go back to the beginning because I feel like that's a really, really, really important point that you said. And when I look at, so I've been hosting podcasts for almost 10 years now. I think this is like year 9 for me. And early on, I had a lot of success booking people that like a lot of other people are like, well, how did you do that? And it's like, well, because I had the belief in what I was doing, right? And I think you approach things differently when you have that belief.